friends! I got a different kind of video today. So as we wrap up this year, I wanted to just kind of go over all the games that I played this year. I had someone comment in one of my videos saying you should make a top 5 favorite games of the year and top 5 least favorite games of the year. And I thought maybe I'd go a step further with that and I'd just take all of the games that I played this year and just kind of rank them. Now, I will say, as I get to the top, especially, they get very close, except for my number one. I think my number one, I'm very set in stone with that. And yeah, I played a lot of great games this year. Now, I do want to say that I didn't start this YouTube channel really until June. So that's a whole 6 months, right, that is not included with this YouTube channel. So this is, I'm assuming, going to be a shorter list this year than next year. I did include, however, some games that I did not actually play on this channel. I'm also only including games that I have completed. I watched the beginning, and I played all the way through to the ending credits. Alright, so I'm not including games like Ghost of Tsushima, because I haven't finished that game. I'm not including Tomb Raider. I will pick that one back up, I promise, but I have not finished that one. As well as Little Big Planet with Boyfriend. Those games have not been completed, therefore I'm not putting them on this list. So overall, with the games that I have played this year, I have a total of 17 games that I have played this year alone. 6 of these games out of the 17 I did not actually record myself playing. So without further ado, let's get started. So number 17. What is the worst game that I played this year? I wonder, could it possibly be the Harem Scarum? Yeah. See, I'm not that much of an idiot, okay? I'm not going to say that an Adobe Flash game is better than The Last of Us 2. Now, Harem Scarum is just a simple little Flash game with the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy. It's a platforming game, and I am so happy that I beat it. However, it's a Flash game. I think it's a very good Flash game, but it's not that great of a game, alright? So, and of course, number 16 is The Last of Us Part 2. I don't think anyone was surprised that this one would be very, very far down on the list. I mentioned as I was playing through the game that this is honestly the worst story in a video game that I have ever experienced. I had to put the game down multiple times, either from boredom or from flat out being extremely viscerally angry. And I mean, if you've been following me for a while, you probably know like a bunch of my different videos of me explaining why I don't like this game. If you're new and if you don't understand why I don't like the game, I have a review, I have some rants. Granted, the rants are not reviews. I don't know why I have to explain this. Rants are me being pissed at a game, being pissed at something. So they're not going to be as analytical as a review. I don't know why I have to disclose that information, but if you happen to stumble across a rant of mine, it's not going to be happy-go-lucky the entire time. Alright? But yeah, I don't think I need to go into much detail about why deserves basically last place this year for me. It was a complete disappointment, and the game made me very upset. So I don't think any game that made me extremely angry and upset should be put close to number 1. So I put that number 16. All right, number 15. This game actually, this is a huge, in my opinion, huge jump up from The Last of Us 2. Obviously, the gameplay is not as great as The Last of Us 2. I don't want you to get confused because this game is extremely short, and this game is not it's very, very different from The Last of Us 2. Let me just say that. It's Parappa the Rapper. This Let's Play, actually, I don't think a lot of people enjoyed it. I think this is the kind of game that you need to play for yourself. The story is so silly, but it's really charming, even though it's only 6 levels that you do. It's very fun, and I can't wait to get the sequel. Like, I had so much fun playing that game. It's frustrating at times, but it's very, very fun. So the reason why I'm putting this over The Last of Us 2, even though The Last of Us 2 obviously has better gameplay than Parappa the Rapper, I'm putting this over it purely because I had more fun playing Parappa the Rapper. And this is, you know, the games that I enjoyed this year. So that's what I decided. So at number 14, I think this might shock some people because I talk about this series a lot and how much I love it. I'm putting Jak 3 here. I did not enjoy playing through this game as much as I remembered. Not to say that the game isn't good. I still enjoyed Jak 3 and I did have fun playing it through, especially on this YouTube channel. But I found the game not as fun as the other games that I've played in the series. I felt a lot of the missions were very repetitive and didn't have much to do with the story. They were just kind of there to be there. I mentioned this when I was playing, but the whole atmosphere of Haven City is a lot different in the third game than in its predecessor. And for that, I put it at this ranking. Again, it's a great game. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I remembered playing it. So that's why I have it here. So at number 13, I hope that this doesn't upset people who really, really love this game and grew up playing this game. I by no means, I don't want you to think that I didn't enjoy this game. I just played a lot of good games this year. So I had to put this somewhere, and for the amount that I struggled in this game, which was solely my fault at not being able to get used to the controls, I'm putting the first Spyro game here. Again, it's not that I don't like this game, I actually want to play the sequel, and I'm excited to play the sequel, and I bought the third game as well. But it is a very old game, you know, it's very generic, you know, it's a collectathon, it's a platforming game. It is a very fun game though. I did enjoy playing it, and again, I'm gonna be playing the sequel, so don't want you to think that I didn't enjoy this game. It's just got a lot of games up the list that I enjoyed more. So for the next ranking, I'm actually going to do the ranking for number 10, 11, and 12 all together. And this is a series that I actually didn't play on this channel, that I just replayed. And the thing is, with this series, the games to me are so similar that I kind of morph them together and can't really remember what's different about all of them. Even though I just played all three of these games over the summer, I still have trouble telling them apart because they're very much the same. The first, second, and third Uncharted games. The Uncharted series is fun. The Uncharted series is a series that I never finish playing and go like, oh wow, that was just such an amazing game. That was just, oh wow. I don't feel that way after I finish an Uncharted game. It's more of like, okay, that was fun. It's more of just a feel-good game. There's not usually a lot of drama and intensity in the games. There's definitely, you know, goals in the game, and you gotta do this to get to this, and it's very much just a treasure hunting game that has slick movement and stealth. It's very fun, but again, I kind of mix all of the first three games together. However, the only Uncharted game that I actually separated from the other three, that I was like, I think I enjoyed that more than the others, and I remember how different it is Uncharted 4, which is going to be number 9 on my list. So Uncharted 4, the whole reason why I played the first three games was because I wanted to remind myself what the games were about before I played the fourth game, when I got my PS4. That's actually the first game that I played when I got my PS4, was Uncharted 4. So I was very, very excited to test the waters with that one, and I actually really enjoyed it. Now, I know from what I've heard, this game in particular is a little more controversial than the other three, with some of the choices it made and stuff like that, but I honestly kind of liked it because I felt like the other three games didn't really have a place to go. It was more of just, okay, you gotta find this artifact. Okay, now put the artifact here. Okay, now do a puzzle. Now do that. It was just very, like, repetitive. Not saying that the fourth game isn't repetitive, it definitely is, but I found the story more interesting in the fourth game. I also found the exploration a little more entertaining than the past games. So that's just my opinion, but that's another game that I didn't play on this channel, but I played before I got my capture card, so. So, number 8. So number 8 is a game that I remembered loving when I played it previously, and I loved it just as much when I played it again. It's Psychonauts. I really recommend that if you have a PlayStation 2 or anything that can play PlayStation 2 games, I highly recommend that you try to get your hands on Psychonauts because it's really a fun game to play for yourself. The reason why I don't have this game ranked higher is because the start of the game is very slow. But once you get into the meat of the game, it's so much fun and it's so creative. It's rare when I play a game as creative as Psychonaut. I mean, if you didn't watch my Let's Play, I don't really want to spoil anything, but it takes the platforming genre of the early 2000s to a different level. It's really more focused on its story, maybe not at the start, but the story along with Psychonauts and the gameplay is extremely fun and rewarding. So highly recommend if you can get your hands on Psychonauts. Again, the beginning's slow, so just give it a little bit and I promise you'll enjoy it. Okay, next up on the list, a game that I played on a handheld that I didn't record. And I even mentioned it in some of my videos that I was playing this, is Pokemon Silver. I love Pokemon games. This game was tons of fun, and I love how after you finish the Johto region, you go into Kanto, and I loved my team. So if you're wondering the team that I had to beat the Elite Four in this game, I decided to go with Ampharos. I got Typhlosion, which obviously was my starter. I have a Miltank, which I named Get Wrecked. I caught that in the wild, which is pretty sweet. I have a Gengar, which I named Blah. I have a Derp, which is Quagsire. And I caught Lugia, which I named Pain in the Ass, which kind of looks like Panda Ass. And that was the team that I had. So that was actually, it was very fun. I had a couple others that I switched out, like Sudowoodo, and I always love Farfetch'd, but I didn't keep him this time around. But yeah, I really enjoyed playing Pokemon Silver, and I've been meaning to play that game for a long time. Alright, next game is one that I played on this channel. This is unlike any game that I've ever played. It was definitely an experience. I always played this game at night, and this game literally took my breath away.
Restless Memories.
Yeah, layers of fear. The story in this game is really unique, and from what I've been told is that depending on what you do in the game and where you go and the notes you find and stuff, it affects the ending, which is really interesting. This game isn't extremely long, but I had a lot of fun playing this game, even though it scared the bejesus out of me. And honestly, after playing this game, I want to play some more scary games. So if you guys are definitely interested in that, I have a few more on my Switch that are just kind of sitting there, and I also got a few sitting on the shelf that are definitely considered in the horror genre, or at least thriller. So I would definitely be interested in continuing that genre. But yeah, I really enjoyed Layers of Fear, even though it seemed at times that I wasn't. Alright, working into the top 5. I think number 5 might surprise some people, especially because I've been talking about how great this game is compared to its sequel. I'm putting The Last of Us here. This game is still amazing, don't get me wrong. It's kind of like with Jak 3, I didn't enjoy the game as much as I did previously. It's not saying that I didn't enjoy the game at all, but I definitely noticed some more sections of the game that are repetitive and a little more tedious than I previously remembered, and that could also be because I upped the difficulty to Survivor mode, so I don't know, that could definitely be a factor in why I didn't enjoy it as much, because I was dying a lot and spending a lot of time in the combat sections, and it took a while to get to the cutscenes and the story. But don't get me wrong, this is still one of the best games I've ever played. I mean, there's a reason why so many people are pissed off with its sequel, because the first game was just so different than its sequel, and the characters in the first game were a lot more well developed. So you can fight me on that, whatever. I think the characters in the first game went through a lot more character development than the characters in the second game. Whatever. It's my opinion. You have yours. All right, number 4. Number 4 is the opposite of The Last of Us and Jak 3. I actually enjoyed this game more than I did in the past, and I think that's partially because of you all, because you also made the experience more entertaining, and I noticed, especially when I was playing through this game, that more people were interested. And this game is interesting because I started playing it, and then I stopped playing it, and then I picked it up again. I'm talking about Jak 2. I remembered in the past, honestly, not really liking this game. And I was excited to play Jak 2, but I was also kind of dreading it because I remembered how difficult it was. This playthrough that I did, I realized how great this sequel is to the first game. The story is awesome. Although it was definitely jarring the first time I played this game, I think the transition from old school precursor legacy into Jak 2 with the guns and Jak being gritty and talking, it's not like Jak 3 gritty. He still cares about the people around him, and he's just not this like mean badass the whole time. And honestly, even though the game can be unforgiving at times, I still found a lot of the sections fun. And I had a lot of fun editing this one, especially that water slums part. Just punch! Just keep punching! Punch! Okay, so top 3. Number 3 is a game that I did not play on this channel. I actually played this game just a little bit before I actually started this channel. And actually it was Boyfriend that recommended I play this game because he wanted to see gameplay of it, and I think once I played this game, that was really when I wanted to start recording myself playing video games. And I really, really wish that I had, because my number 3 is Resident Evil 4. This game was one of the best games I've ever played. Even with the Leon! I thought that the boss fights were very unique. I thought that the game itself was definitely unique. It terrified me at parts. I still get chills and nightmares thinking about the frickin' the Iron Maidens and the God, I want to call them Redeads. They're not Redeads. I can't even Regenerators. Those things, and they come toward you, and that, boy, I really, really wish that I had the capabilities to record back when I played that game, and I had thought about recording that game. I really, really wish, because I enjoyed that game so much. And I think a lot of the reactions that I had playing that game were pretty entertaining, especially the first time I ran into a Regenerator and an Iron Maiden. So, alright. So, if you've done process of elimination, you might be able to think of the top 2. If not, then what could be at number 2? Number 2 is a game that I have been wanting to play for a really, really long time. And I finally got my butt in gear and decided to play it thanks to a few of you recommending that I should just play the game, and I did. And I really loved God of War. This game was stupid fun. I mean, I raged a lot in this game, just like a few others. I enjoyed the story of this game, but mostly I enjoyed the combat and how great it feels to just wreck. I especially, and I mentioned this while I was playing, I love all of the Greek mythology that's added into the game. I loved the ending of the game. I thought that that was one of the best video game endings I had ever seen in a game, and I cannot wait to play the sequels. That was definitely the best new game that I played this year. And number 1, if If it isn't obvious, this is a game from my childhood. And if there weren't for certain circumstances that happened this year with this particular game, I wouldn't have put it at number 1. My number 1 is Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy. The reason why I put this at number 1 is because not only is this just my favorite childhood game, but this is the year where I decided I wanted to learn how to speedrun Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy. And I have never had more fun breaking my childhood game than I have this year. I take a lot of pride in being able to say that I found every single thing in this game as a kid without looking up anything because the internet wasn't really that well developed yet. And once you play your childhood game over and over and over again, it's still enjoyable, but it starts to become stale because you know where everything is. When I started learning how to speedrun this game, it was almost like I was playing the game for the first time again. Learning the paths I needed to take, learning new glitches and clips to go through walls and to get extra eco in places and to walk through lava. It was so much fun for me to learn all of these things. And another great thing was the people in the speedrunning community for Jak and Daxter are just wonderful people. So without a doubt, I know that this one belongs at number 1 for me. I mean, I play this game every single day. There's maybe like once a week where I take a day off, but I play this game every single day. I teach during the day. After I'm done teaching, I record my video for the day for you guys, and then after that, I stay up late and I practice Jak and Daxter. And I haven't played a game more this year than I have played Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy. So that's why I put this one at number 1. And in my opinion, I think that's a pretty good reason to put it at number 1, because it's like re-experiencing the game for the first time again, and I love this game so much. So that was my list of all the games that I've played this year and where I would put them on a rank. But I also wanted to talk about games that I have in store for next year in 2021. So I wrote a few of them down. I've mentioned a few of these that I'm going to play very, very soon, but I also have a few that, you know, maybe you guys can give me some suggestions for. So the first one that I'm definitely going to play, and I will be playing after I finish Ghost of Tsushima, is Spyro 2, and I'm very, very excited to play Spyro 2. Another game that I really, really want to play is Jak X, because I've played all of the Naughty Dog titled Jak and Daxter games except for Jak X. Jak X is a racing game, so perhaps maybe I'll play that alongside another game. And another one that I'm going to be playing next year that I am just so excited for is God of War 2. I definitely will be playing that sooner than later. I'm not going to hold off on playing that one, especially because I want to keep playing the games. I have the 3rd game and I got the 4th game, so I don't want to dilly-dally. I just want to dive into those very, very soon. So another one is a game that I started and and put down is Tomb Raider. I want to keep playing Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider might be one of those games that I might have to play once a week or once every other week because I spend hours recording and I cut it down to very short videos and I can't get used to the controls. So I do want to play the game. I do want to finish the game, especially because this is a well-praised series. So I want to actually finish playing that game since I started it and I want to stay committed to it. So another thing that I want to try out in 2021 is I want to do more collabs with Boyfriend. You guys seem to enjoy Little Big Planet, so I can keep playing that with him. So before I did the collab video with him, we were actually playing the Subspace Emissary and Brawl, and as we were playing it, we both looked at each other and were like, why aren't we recording this? This would be really fun. So we switched to Little Big Planet, but there's definitely other co-op games that I own that I think would be a lot more fun if they were being recorded with Boyfriend. So I definitely want to add a little more of that in next year. All right, the next thing is a list of a bunch of different series that I would like to dive into, and I'll leave it up to you guys to decide what you think I should play. So I want to start another big series like God of War or Spyro or Tomb Raider, you know. That way I can bounce back and forth between the games, so I'm not just spending all my time on one series. So a lot of games out in my game room, if I have the first game, I usually have the second game for. So these are well-regarded series that I have heard about that I would like to dip my toes into. So one of the series that I could play is the Metal Gear Solid franchise, which I've played a little bit of the first game. I've heard the second game is amazing. I've heard that the third game is awesome, so I would definitely like dip my toes into that. That's an option. Another one is the Prince of Persia series, which I have a lot of the games for. I tried playing a little bit of Sands of Time years ago, and it was fun, but I never really dove into the game, so that's another one. Another series that I started and never really got into is Devil May Cry, which I have the first 3 games on PS2, so that's another series that I could dip my toes into. Another one that is a childhood classic for a lot of people is the Sly Cooper franchise. I played a little bit of The Thievius Raccoonist, and I've enjoyed it a lot. I also own the second game, and I don't remember what it's called, but the one on PlayStation 3. I don't remember the actual title of that one, but... And the final series that I can think of that I would also enjoy playing, since I enjoyed the 4th game this year so much, is Resident Evil. I own the second game on the original PlayStation, and I own 5 and 6 on the PlayStation 3. So I've heard that you don't really have to play these games in order. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but so if you want to leave suggestions on what you think I should play, or if I didn't mention a game that you really think that I should play, go ahead and leave a comment. This might be a YouTube channel with, you know, my name as the channel, but this is really our channel because I couldn't be doing this without you guys, and I really, really thank those of you who are new to this channel, those of you who have joined this channel recently, and especially those of you who have been around since the beginning, since I started making my Last of Us 2 videos, and all my rants and reviews, and I can't thank you guys enough. And this channel has grown a lot in just half a year, and it wouldn't have been possible without you guys. So I really am sincerely grateful and happy, and I hope that you all have a wonderful new year, and I hope that you have an even better start to 2021, and hopefully this year won't suck ass like 2020.